All right, we are back. We are back. We are back. We encountered a little stress, and thankfully, we identified what the stress was. We know that stress is to challenge the capacity we have built over time, and we are this calm because we know that in times like this, we know what to do. So, information is what helps you manage
Yeah.
stress. What you don't know, you cannot control.
Mm,
What you don't know, you cannot manage. The same
yeah.
goes for everything we've been talking about since we started this session. Now, this leads us to our next focal point of this conversation about identification. You know, like I said, what you don't know, you cannot control. What you cannot identify, you cannot attack. You know, so what are the trappings? What are the manifestations of stress that we commonly ignore, in this part of the world? Using Africa as an example now. What are the common examples, that we tend to ignore? Maybe they are not culturally, maybe because of culture, because of our culture, we are not able to see these things as stress. Maybe we see them as something else. Like I said, even before we started this session, that there is something called the culture of suffering, here in this part of the world where it is expected. Thankfully, because of the abundance of information, we're trying to overcome some of these norms and these nuances here and there. We equate being a human being to some certain things. You have to struggle for what you want. You have to toil. You have to sweat. It has to be sorrow, tears, and blood before you can make a mark. And now we are seeing that, oh, you can do things the smart way. You can do things the easy way, which does not in any way affront hard work. But the question is, what are these common norms in our society, even in the workplace, because we are dealing with executives. EDO is loaded with a lot of executive entrepreneurs, people who are self-made, people who control businesses, who control establishments, who control territories. Now, what are these signs, symptoms, common signs that we see that we do not call stress, we do not attribute to stress? We just see it as, it's one of those things that we can, going forward, begin to identify and say, oh, okay,
You know, you
this.
can you can you can categorize them into four groups. You have of course physical signs of stress. You have cognitive signs of stress. You have behavioral, and then you have emotional. Right. Physical, those ones are very easy. Like for instance, if you have a constant headache, that's a sign that you're stressed. Just headaches from nowhere, and they have this sense of fatigue, constantly tired, right? You have butterflies in your tummy, you're sweaty, you have itchy palms, sweaty palms, things like that. Those are physical signs. Aches and pains all over, those are physical signs of stress. Emotional signs of stress, you have mood swings, right? You have mood swings, you're unhappy, all those things that have to relate with emotions. Cognitive, you forget things easily. You have the kind of interest you had in something, you've lost the interest, right? You're mixing things up. Your judgment becomes questionable. Behavioral, you begin to isolate yourself from people. You start acting,
And you're not an
yeah,
introvert.
yeah, you start just basically removing yourself from people. Those are that's an example of a behavioral sign of stress. Now, one of the major things, especially for us now, one of the major ways that you can tell that you are actually dealing with chronic stress is when you procrastinate a lot, right? When you procrastinate a lot, when you do a lot of multitasking. We kind of think that multitasking is a superpower, Well, is that superpower that is killing us silently? You get what I'm saying? So how much of a superpower is that? So more procrastination, multitasking, people pleasing, inability to say no, right? And you're not able to delegate. Everything must be done by you. When you find yourself in this mix, you are fully immersed in chronic stress, not stress, chronic stress. On its own, working under pressure on its own is not a problem because we all work under pressure. But when it becomes a routine, you have become so used to it. That means you've become addicted to it. At that point, it has become chronic and it is unhealthy. A lot of us are working that way, where we keep piling and piling tasks upon ourselves without regulating ourselves, without understanding why these tasks are necessary. And it boils down to some of the techniques, that have to do with stress mastery, which one of which is time management. One of which is time management. A lot of us have problems with managing our time. A lot of us have problems with communicating appropriately what we need or how we need them. So when you're unable to do that, you find that it begins to pile up on you as pressure. You become overwhelmed. Then you start dealing with burnout because, again, like, everything happens to you, so you can't control yourself. You don't have agency over what is going on around you, so you have totally lost control. You see people who procrastinate, they are running away from their problems. That is part of the stress management thing. I'm trying to avoid this challenge. But how long can you avoid the challenge? No matter how far you run, you're still going to come back. You're still going to have to deal with that issue. But at that time, because life goes on, no matter how far you run, life is still going on. There are other projects that are coming up that you still need to deal with. So when you eventually get to deal with them, you find that you're now dealing with a huge pile, of work. And that begins to weigh down on you. And that is the challenge a lot of us have. Some of us have people that we have employed to work for us, but because we have this fear, because we are victims, we do not believe, we do not trust in them, and we are selfish. We do not think that they can do the work that we have employed them to do. So we tend to do it ourselves, or we micromanage. Micromanagement actually does not support your growth or your thriving. It actually limits your ability to thrive as an executive, as a human being, as one who owns a business. So you want to learn how to thrive. You need to learn how to separate certain things, separate the noise from the sound. And one of the ways you can do that is actually using their 7 skills. There are 7 skills if you want to build your resilience, because all this talk is all about building resilience. And what is resilience? Resilience is basically your ability to move forward. Right? A lot of people think resilience is about bouncing back. No, we are not bouncing back, because everyday life happens. We experience things. So there's no way you can bounce back to something that has happened before. Bounce back to something is not possible, because it's like you trying to deny that a certain thing has happened, which you can't. So what we do is we are moving forward. How do we use this situation that's happened to us? How do we use this encounter? How do we use this development to move forward? What are the benefits from this, so that we can push ourselves, right? So these resilient skills, there are like 7 in number. So the first one always starts with self-knowledge. You need to know yourself. Who are you? What are your values? What are your principles? What do you stand for? What makes you happy? What makes you sad? What is your essence, right? And in your essence, you're not just looking at the good part of you. Stress mastery forces you to go inwards and look at you holistically, the good, the bad, and the ugly. A lot of us want to deny the ugly aspects of us or the bad aspects of us, want to focus only on the good. But there's a reason why we run a SWOT analysis for a reason. There's a reason why we run a SWOT analysis, because we do know that you have strengths and you have weaknesses, you have opportunities, you have threats, right? So in trying to deny yourself or avoid that weakness, you are lying to yourself, and you're actually not strengthening yourself, because when opportunities or when threats do come, because you have denied your weaknesses, you think you are all about the strength. So when the threats do come, you do not have the structures in place to deal or to handle. So it's important that you learn how to, you know yourself. Self-knowledge is number 1. Know yourself. You can only love what you know, which takes us to the second thing, which is self-love. We hear it all over the place. Everybody talks about self-love. The thing has become like pure water, so we take it for granted, but it's very, very important. Your ability to love yourself. A lot of people, you see them searching for love on the outside, but they are not giving it to themselves. And how do you give love to yourself? You need to learn to show yourself compassion. You need to learn to show yourself empathy. You need to learn to forgive yourself, right? And you can only do that when you know yourself. And then self-love also is what makes it possible for you to care for yourself appropriately. Now, you have people who care for themselves, but they do it from a place of self-loathing. They want to be like this other person, or they want to look a certain way so that the people would accept them. And that is because they do not like who they are, right? And you cannot get far with that kind of attitude, because eventually it's going to backfire, and then it's going to increase in you those feelings that inhibit your growth mentally. Right, so you begin to experience all those mental health situations, where you're depressed, where you're unhappy, where you feel the world is against you. But when you do love yourself and you care for yourself appropriately, that is when it's easy for you to set up boundaries. Boundaries are very important. They are very key. Now, boundaries is not about you isolating yourself from people, but it's about you letting others know how they should relate with you, based on your knowledge of self, based on the things that you need, because you loved yourself so much, right? You're caring for yourself. And it's only someone that cares for themselves and loves themselves that can be there for another person, even in the workplace. So self-love is also very, very important in the workplace. And I tell people this all the time, because they think that the workplace is all about, hey, you come to your work. No. If a boss loves himself, if a boss understands himself and loves himself, you find that it's easy for him to give out of that love to the people that is working for him. So it's easier for him to understand that, okay, these guys are also human beings. They also need boundaries. They also need to be respected. I also need to understand. And even if they don't, you encourage them as well. You understand, to build boundaries around themselves and to build their resilience, because the workplace is highly, highly stressful, right? So they need resilience to be able to move and push forward. Now, you've been able to know yourself, you love yourself, you care for yourself. The next thing is to prioritize. You need to learn how to prioritize. Very, very, very important. And the top on that priority list should be you as well. When you learn to prioritize things in terms of wants, needs, haves, have nots, must have this or must not have this, or essentials, or whatever the case may be, it's easier for you to deal. It's easier for you to plan. It's easier for you to attack or attend to the challenges that are in front of you, because you've prioritized them. And this goes hand in hand with the next one, which is time management. For you to prioritize, you need to be able to understand time. You need to be able to understand how to use time. And again, I said, you should be number one on your priority list. So when you are managing your time, you ensure that you give yourself a chunk of that time. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're not healthy, if you're not mentally okay, there's no way you can be productive. It is impossible for you to be efficiently productive. You might be productive in some parts, but not efficiently. Your own part of productivity might even be, drawing people back. So it's like, this motion, but no results. Yeah. You're going nowhere.
Speed,
so
but
that's
no progress.
Because you're just doing so many things. By the end of it, so there's nothing to account for it. And what you then get out of it is stress, high blood pressure, cardiac arrest here and there, diabetes, stuff like that. But those are the things that we want to avoid. And these are things that can be avoided just by the way you reason, by the things that you dwell on. So by the time you learn how to manage your time, you also look at your support system. You mention support system is very key, very, very important. Who are the people you have in your corner? And when you're thinking about the people in your corner, you don't have to be selfish about it, because you also need to recognize that you are also the one in their own corner. So it's about building yourself. It's not just about being idle and saying, hey, these are my support. But who are they supporting? What are they supporting? There's got to be something for them to support. So that is actually a call on you to be productive, to develop yourself personally. If you don't have anything of value, how are they going to support you? And how can you also be of support to the next person? Because we are not islands, right? It's not about being selfish. Then the next thing, because of time, I'm actually rushing. So the next thing is you also need to have like a creative outlet. Whatever pain you're going through, whatever trauma you're dealing with, whatever it is, because we all are going through our own personal fights, personal battles. Not all of us have that ability to open up to someone and speak and say, hey, this is what I'm going through, or this is what I need. But we all have within us that ability to develop a creative outlet. Now, creative outlets can be gardening, for instance. There's something about the earth, there's something about nature and human beings, right? That kind of helps to boost your mental well-being. And then you can have paintings, you can have writing. There are some people who shared their stress, who shared their weight into their songs. And I'm sure you've encountered such people as well. Most of the songs are as a result of the pain that people are going through because they need something to take it out. Like one of the things we say is that emotions are best, like is better out than in. Better out than in. The more in it is, the more havoc it plays in your brain, and the more you begin to believe in the lie that, hey, stress is bad and stuff like that. And one of the things I also need to tell you is what you believe, what you dwell on, is what eventually works out for you. So it's important that, then that comes under your self-love and self-care. What are the things you say? What are the things you surround yourself with? What are the things that you immerse your mind in? And it kind of like tells a lot about who you would become or who you are right now. So if you're going through anything right now, or if you're thinking that the world is against you, you think that you're alone, you think nothing works out for you, you think you're not all that, you think you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, or whatever, ask yourself, what are you listening to? Because, hey, what the world does is confirm for you what you think. So if you tell yourself that you're not smart, the world is going to create situations that will actually prove to you that you're not smart. And that is where confirmation bias comes in. And that is why we are so insistent on how you speak. Positive speak does not mean that you deny your situation. It just means that you're so aware of your situation that you're not defined by that situation that you're going through. Do you understand? And that is the only way you can actually boost your well-being and push forward. And that is where the resilience comes in.
A lot has been said. In fact, you have circumnavigated this topic faster than the Brits use their ships to do across Africa. Yes, you have made a lot of touch points on
Yeah.
having both in workplace and out, having a support system, creative outlets, thinking. So much has been said, and healthy habits that we can cultivate, healthy cultures that we can immerse ourselves in to help us tackle stress patterns and
Yeah.
keep stress at a level where it is not looking like, when it's like you're married to somebody now, and there is that honeymoon period, there's that honeymoon phase. So keeping
Yeah.
stress at the honeymoon phase, where, oh, I know you, you know me, darling, we're together, come on, yeah, yeah. Than when the stress is now serving you papers,
Mm.
to leave the house and
Yeah.
and stuff. So yeah, a lot has been said. If you're watching, please, if you're watching, you have a question, there is something that you have gleaned from this session, please use the comments box. Use the comments box. I want to see your comments. A lot has been said by Kris. I am trying to my brain is scheduling these things like in beats, like, oh, okay, enter, oh, you enter, oh, sip and paint, enter, you this enter now, this enter, like it's you're attacking me, sporadically, and there's a lot that I will have to alter, going forwards. Of course, I now understand what it means to befriend stress. I now understand that stress is like litmus paper to acid. It's an indicator. It is not an enemy.
Yes.
It's not
Yes.
there to burn you. It's
I like
there
that.
to indicate. So you have to identify it as an indicator. So that way, your mind is wired to not attack stress. When it comes, it's to
Mm.
accommodate it, to look at all sides of the elephant, as it were, and then say, okay, this is the part that touches my head, and then cool off. Know how to tackle, know how to manage it, um, instead of allowing it manage you. So much has been said. A lot has been said. In fact, stress is responsible for a lot of untimely deaths that we get to see all the time. Somebody just sits down, slumps and dies, and the comment you get is, "Oh, this person is healthy." Oh, how do you know? How are you certain that this person was healthy all the while? How do you know that this person was ever healthy? You know, how do you know that this person was fit as a fiddle? You just think that, okay, as long as this person can walk from the car to the office, the person is healthy, and then something happens, and then the next thing is, oh, this person is healthy. Oh, village people have done their own, but it could be as a result of mismanagement of stress, accumulated stress. The person has not been able to even identify what stress is. The person has been a multitasker all their life. The person has been managing. The person has not delegated anything to anybody, and then the person just lives like life like that until it becomes too terrible. It becomes stressful, it becomes strenuous, and the person continues on that path until ruin sets in. So it is important for us as executives, as EDO members, as non-EDO members, to ensure that we monitor our stress levels. It is important for us to be logical with tasks, to be logical with demands. Sit down and ask yourself, really, can I do this? Instead of make believe, making them believe that, oh, I can do this, and then you keep procrastinating, you keep pushing the project forward, and the more you do so, the more enormous it becomes. Because one thing about the mind is, with every reminder, yeah, that you get in your mind, the focus of that information or that reminder enlarges it. So if I know that I'm going to host a session tomorrow, I'm just knowing at 7 a.m. today, I know that I'm hosting tomorrow 6 p.m. Then tomorrow, maybe 6 a.m., I get a reminder that, oh, you're hosting something by 6 p.m. today. The task has become much more visible, much more clear, much more intense, much more, what's the word now? It is more impressed upon my mind. So it becomes bigger, you know. So the more you shift something, you shift a task, the more it weighs on your mind. Yeah, it becomes more urgent. And from being urgent, it becomes an emergency. So we need to identify, oh, I can't do this. So therefore, who can do this in my team? Oh, you fix this. Let me delegate this task. Because I am MD or CEO does not mean I have to put everything on my head. It doesn't work.
Well, because of time, yeah. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of the things that we need to share is not something that we can share within the
time frame.
Time that we have. But one of the things that people ask me a lot is, okay, fine, Kris, you've told me all these things, blah 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 blah. What if I encounter stress that I'm not prepared for? Nobody's actually ever prepared for stress anyway. But what do I do when I'm in the midst of it? What do I do? How do I get myself out of it? Right? How do I deal? And there's something we call the 4 A's of stress. The 4 A's of stress. 4 A's. So number one is assess. So the first thing you need to do is assess your situation, assess the emotion that is going through you because of that stressful, whatever the stressful situation is. And one of the ones I like to use, one of the examples I like to use is traffic, right? So traffic stresses you out all the time. And then why is traffic stressing me out? What exactly is it about traffic? So you spend time to assess it, right? By the time you assess it and analyze it, you begin to appreciate, which is the second A, which is appreciate. You begin to appreciate why the traffic stresses you out. And oftentimes it's stressing you out because you have not probably scheduled your time appropriately, right? So you know that you ought to be somewhere at a particular time. You already know, because nobody can control traffic. You can't, but you can control yourself. So you focus on, okay, instead of getting there at, maybe the traffic there kicks off at 2 p.m. and then you are planning to get there at 1 p.m. Do you understand? Of course, and maybe it's a 2-hour drive. Of course, you're going to be stuck in that traffic because it kicks off at 2. So you need to get to where you want to get to, and it's a 2-hour drive for you. You ensure that you start your journey probably at 10. So you have more than enough time in case there's even traffic, right? So this is just an example. So the second is appreciate, and the third one is adjust. So now that you know you start adjusting your lifestyle, right? So the things that you need to do to ensure you get to that spot at 10 a.m. rather than 1 p.m., you start working on it. You start focusing on it. You focus on it for so long, you begin to assimilate it, which is the fourth A.
Fourth
You
A.
assimilate. Yeah. So by the time you assimilate, it becomes habit. It becomes your lifestyle. So you're no longer thinking about it. So you're no longer struggling to get there by 10. You're now so used to it. So much so that even when there's no traffic, you're there by 10. You can't even explain why you're there by 10 because your body has assimilated that adjustment. So you're used to it. Now, this is the same formula that you can apply to every single stressful scenario in your life. And then you find that it actually encourages your logical aspects. It allows you to be very logical and it allows you to be very proactive, right? And it boosts your your problem solving skills. So you see how it works. So by the time you assess the situation, assessing is just like analyzing. You assess, you analyze the situation. You begin to appreciate the work of that stress in your life, and then you begin to adjust. Now, appreciation does not necessarily mean that stress is bad. Again, as I say, no matter how negative stress is, there's always something good you can get out of it. Focus on the good because there's a reason that thing is happening to you. It's actually happening to you to strengthen you, to open your eyes to opportunities that I probably have missed, right? And it encourages creativity in how you deal with issues because now you know it cannot just be this way, then we can try this other way. So that is how it works. And there's another formula that we use. So this is one of my very favorites, yeah, and this ties into the title of what we're talking about, which is befriending stress. So when you talk about befriending, the first thing that comes to your mind. Now you talk about, hey, my BFF, right? This is my BFF, BFF, best friends forever. I like that a lot because it reminds me all the time that stress is my friend, that stress exists for me, to protect me, to grow me. So what does BFF stand for? Breathe, feel, focus. No matter what you're going through, if at that point you're feeling overwhelmed for whatever reason, something is getting at you, attempting to take you out of your comfort zone in a way that you're not comfortable with, breathe. It can be anything. It can be a toxic boss. It can be a toxic spouse. It can be somebody who's coming at you with some form of negativity that you don't need at that point. You breathe. You take some time out and breathe. Calm down. Usually when you count, right, senses come back to your head. Oftentimes, when we react with emotions, nobody makes good judgments when you react.
Emotional.
But you make good judgment when you respond. At that point, your emotion is not ruling you, right? Your emotion is not, so you're being less sentimental, more logical. So
check.
by the time you breathe, then you feel the situation. You're trying to understand. Feeling here also stands with analyze or assess with the other one. You feel, why am I going through this? Why is this happening to me? Why is this person talking to me this way? Is there a way that I encouraged this situation? Right? By the time you are able to understand that, you then find that, oh, okay, then I can focus on what I need to do. Because then the idea, or is it the solution to the problem, comes to you. So you then focus on that solution.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
These are nuggets for days. Assess, appreciate, adjust, assimilate, and then breathe, feel,
focus. That's your BFF.
Breathe, diffuse,
Breathe,
relax.
feel, focus.
Ensure
BFF.
that you are not fueled by emotion. Because when you are fueled by emotion, you don't drive yourself. You are driven instead. And then you feel, you appreciate what you feel. You understand what you feel. You understand what this is. At that point, you can name it. At that point, you can identify it. At that point, you understand its nomenclature. And then you see the entire picture in front of you. And then focus comes in. It becomes clear what you need to do. You gain clarity needed.
Yeah.
Now, before we close, let me ask one question. What is the place of meditation, in all of this? Because I think meditation, I would define meditation as the ability to create calm on demand. And this also tracks back to the question somebody asked you when the person said, how do I handle stress that I'm not prepared for? You know, meditation is the ability to create calm on demand, instant calm, you know. So what is the place of meditation in stress
Meditation,
management?
meditation, not stress management. We don't do stress management anymore. We
Mastery?
do stress mastery. We master
Mastery?
stress because we
Mastery.
want to
Okay.
own our agency.
In developing
Right?
a culture of stress
Right. We want to
diffusion,
own our agency.
what does
We are
meditation
not victims here. We're not victims, yeah. So we're not managing anything. We are mastering it. Okay.
do?
So meditation is an aspect of mindfulness. Mindfulness is a series of techniques or activities, yeah, that puts you in the moment, in the present, that enables you appreciate what is going on now. It kills your drive to worry. It kills your drive for anxiety. It kills your drive to complain. Because when you're practicing mindfulness, which meditation is part of, right? You're not thinking about tomorrow. You're not really dwelling on yesterday. You're thinking about today and now. Because
Great.
the only thing that we are guaranteed is today, is now, right? We're not guaranteed tomorrow. Yesterday is past. Let yesterday be there. Because again, the thing is, if you think about yesterday for too long, is there anything they're going to do about what happened yesterday that you can change? No, you can't change what happened yesterday. And then you don't have any agency about what's going to happen tomorrow. So why bother? So what meditation does is, it again, as you said, the word calm, right? It brings you to a place of appreciating today, appreciating now, and it boosts your gratitude. It boosts your gratitude level. So you find you're more appreciative of the things around you. And this you can experience when you're like in the midst of people. You find people who you're having a dinner with someone, right? And then you're busy on your phone. That is not being mindful. That is not being appreciative of the ability to convene with people. So you're more concerned about what is going on with maybe something that you're expecting to come in the next instant. So you're busy, anxious about it, rather than calming yourself down and enjoying the moment. Some of us are eating and then we are rushing like there's no tomorrow. We are not taking time, to appreciate the different sensations in our mouths. So
We're eating like inmates.
right, those little things. And gratitude starts from the little things. The way your ability to be grateful for the little things actually shows how you're going to be grateful for the big things and how ready you are for the big things when they do come. Right. So that is the work of meditation. Is very important. But medication is different for different people. And one of the misconceptions that I see with people and meditation is that you need to put yourself in one place. I need to be humming. No, that's not really what meditation is. Right. You can be reading and you're meditating, but it's just about now, about today. And don't feel guilty if you're meditating and thoughts are going through your head. They should go through your head. You have a brain, a functional brain. But the thing is, don't dwell on those thoughts. Let them just come and let them go. Do you understand? Appreciate that they've come. Take note of it, but don't dwell on it. And open yourself up for the experience of now, of today. And then we'll be fine.
Indeed, we will be fine. We have had such an amazing 70 minutes with you, Kris. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for opening your storehouse of in-depth knowledge on stress management to EDO. We are grateful that we have you here. We are thankful for your presence, more so your intellect and expertise that you've shared with us. If you're watching us, please, and you're watching this session live, please, if you have a contribution, a question, we're going to zoom out of here in 3 to 4 minutes. So if you have a question for Kris, there is something you wish to ask Kris, please use the comment box and drop your questions. If you have questions for Kris, and please drop your questions and we will take them. We will take them. Stress management. It is important for us to manage stress. It is important for us to manage stress. It is important for us to know when we're stressed out and also know what to do when stress comes. It is very important so that we do not create a disastrous culture for ourselves. Meditation is key. Meditation helps you focus on what's important, which is now. Meditation helps you focus on who is important, which is you. Meditation helps you focus on your power. Meditation helps you to dispel the past and not to be anxious for the future, but to dwell in the present, to thrive in the present, to utilize and tap into the energy of now, of being, so that you can become. So please, if you have a question for Kris, if you have a question, contribution, please use the comment section. I want to thank all our viewers who joined us despite the glitch we had, the stress we had previously that we're able to overcome. And you're here. It also shows that you overcame that stress with us. And for that, we are grateful. Thank you for joining our knowledge sharing session. In the absence of questions, I would want to infer that what we are saying is that we have heard all that our teacher has said. You know, back then in school, when the teacher would teach, and then the teacher would say, do we understand? Everybody will chorus, yes. Everybody will shout, yes, until, yeah, of course, I grew up in Igara. I was born in Igara. I grew up in Igara, Kwedo. And so back then in school, I used to attend Solid Rock Secondary School. When the teacher would say the one that everybody would shout, yes. Those of us in front, of course, we are known as the smart ones. Hello, come on, we're smart. Smart and small. We're smart and diminutive. So we're always in front. Is the August and the madams at the top that used to be at the back. So everybody will shout, yes. But when the teacher now points to the back and says, okay, from there, start answering a series of questions, you will now see people want to ease themselves. People want to, that is the time people want to,
yes, that point they need for something.
Is that point that you want to go and collect something from your junior sister or your elder sister, you know? But I'm certain that we've gained a lot because Kris has presented it as plain as can be presented. And of course, we know how to manage stress. At this point, I believe that there are new things that we're going to
use the word master.
There are new things that we're going to imbibe. There are new things we're going to improve upon to help us master stress. To help us master stress. You're not managing stress. You're not a manager. You are a master. Yeah. And manage stress and master stress so that stress does not manage or destroy you. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining our knowledge sharing session. It's been an impactful experience with you. Thank you, Pesa. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, everyone who joined us. And for those who watched the replay, we say thank you. And we wish you a stress mastering life. Yes, where you are in charge, you are in control, you are the one on top, you are the Oga at the top, you are the Oga at the top, and not stress. So I want to say thank you. If we're in one of these local stations, we say I am Charles Ogbogodo reporting, or I am Peters Ere. But for this KSS, I am the mechanic, and it's been my utmost pleasure moderating this session. Till we come your way again, same time, same channel, some other month, I think. Please keep tabs on us, subscribe to our YouTube, turn on post notifications so that you don't miss a thing. Follow Kris on Instagram at the Wellness Boss. There is a lot of things, a lot of videos, a lot of content for you to help you, to give you, that gives you insight on mastering stress that you can watch on our Instagram. Check out on Instagram, the Wellness Boss, and you will thank me. I'm certain of that you will thank me. You look for me and thank me, because there's a lot for you to assimilate. There's a lot for you to learn to help you adjust and appreciate life the more. So,
thank you.
To sign out, we're saying breathe, feel,
and
thought,
focus.
and
All right.
become.
Bye-bye.
Thank you
Thank you,
very much,
mechanic.
and
Bye.
see you when we see you. Thank you. Bye-bye.